Hello, friends. So, some of you already have been following me for a while now and know that I retrieved my past life memories as King Tut, Tutankhamun. In my coming out with the memories that I have recalled from the past life of King Tut, which is um, my central past life that is very alive for me, and how that relates to the life of Isa. It's part of my own reclamation of self, reclamation of my own inner power as a sovereign being who is empowered in their own sovereignty and their own life force energy to be able to wield the serpent power, which is the Kundalini life force energy inside of my vessel without it being stopped out of trauma and physical trauma, as well as black magic, as it was done to me when I was incarnated as King Tut, Tutankhamun. As a child, I had to grow up around my stepmother, who was Nefertiti, and my father, who was Akhenaten. And I have to say that they do not feel like family to me. I have to say, the reason I do not fully, I just don't go on every day trying to remember what really happened, because a lot of this stuff is very physical. So what I have remembered is I was constantly being drugged. I was not in my conscious decision-making capacities most of the time because I had so much physical pain. And the whole narrative was they were giving me these Blue Lotus potions to help with the pain. But what it did is to actually keep me sedated, where they were going around their business and doing whatever the hell they wanted, making decisions on my behalf. And I was not in my power because I could not sit without pain and I could not be fully in my power. And what I remembered yesterday, as I'm going deeper into healing this right hip problem, is this murderer, Nefertiti. When I was growing up, when I was still a toddler, learning how to walk, when I was still little, learning how to walk, she had concocted a black magic, sort of like a voodoo doll of me as a child. And I've seen it in my vision. And she was spinning that string around my neck and both of my legs, like in the hip area, just spinning her strings in those areas and wounding or binding, binding me with black magic. And I've seen that she's preparing some kind of a pellet or a cookie that was made, and she put this blue stuff in it that was very blue, like it's probably something no one should ever eat. And I don't know what that substance is, mixed with what looks like dates or some other brown stuff that's probably just like edible. And and then I remembered, because when I'm remembering these visions, I'm acting them out too. So my body, because I relinquish control over my body and I'm in full surrender. This is how I receive what I receive. It's important to understand that none of this is rational or logical. This is not something I intellectualize or think about and try to bring the pieces together. Like I said, this is consciousness. It's like remembering. I'm reliving it, and then my body is acting out these memories and is fully capable of acting out. And when it acts out, when I see that I've grabbed this pellet, this cookie, and I put it in my mouth, I ate that poison. I ate her black magic spell. And I've seen what it did. This is from higher intelligence. I've seen who's behind Nefertiti, who's the entity that's behind this beautiful face. I've seen the entity that's behind Akhenaten. These were not human. These were overtakers. These were bad seeds. These were infiltrators of the 18th dynasty family. And they looked different. They had elongated skulls for a reason. Tut was not the same as them. And neither was my grandfather, Amenhotep III. He was not one of them. He is what I relate to as family. I feel the soul connection and the lineage, as well as to those before him, like Hatshepsut, and we all have this unbreakable soul connection. It's that is why it's called a lineage, because I can access their memories and I can access their consciousness. But because I'm here to heal the rupture, I'm not here to just simply download the information and be like all-knowing historian about what happened to this family. I'm here to reclaim the lost memories, the trauma, the traumatic memories of what has been done to me when I was a young person, and the level of abuse and trauma that I've had to suffer and I've had to face growing up in this environment. So I saw her weave her black magic, and I've seen how when I swallowed this pellet or this cookie, it almost wrapped around my spine like black smoke. It's something you would probably see in a sci-fi movie. The smoke built up and formed this other grid. It was a dark grid around my spine, and it grew and it grew and it assimilated itself until the back of my neck, and it hijacked my power, and it's a binding spell. It kept me in pain. It prevented me from being fully in my power. It prevented me from being able to walk properly or sit, and it prevented me from yielding my what we would call kundalini or serpent power or dragon power, the kind of power that a king would use to rule and to harmonize the land and to ensure there is abundance and harmony through the entire demographics, the entire city and the entire nation, so to speak, the entire country. The way she binded him is exactly the same act that was done to Isa with his crucifixion and torture on the cross. And it has been shown to me that we really need discernment, and I want you to be extremely discerning with what I'm about to say so that you don't misunderstand me, because I'm also trying to clarify what I'm trying to say. I am not necessarily against the religions, the monotheistic religions, because they carry a seed of truth, an essence of truth in them. So I don't want this to sound like I am vilifying any religion or any faith out there or any people, or that I'm disrespecting any people out there. But what I've been shown is the act of crucifixion, the symbol of tortured Jesus on the cross. That the crucifixion itself is what's being worshipped. So what I'm trying to say is, and this is why we need to step into discernment, the subtleties, the different frequencies and what these symbols mean. So I know a lot of wholehearted human beings out there who are faithful to Christ consciousness and the Christic energy and the wisdom in that, the beauty in that. This frequency is so pure and so rare. And yet, the false image of it, the false simulacra, distorted, inverted version of Christ's teachings and what Christ symbolizes is the crucifixion, is glorifying the act of abuse, is glorifying the act of torture. And I've been shown, my higher self showed me that the same way people glorify Nefertiti for her beauty and admire her beauty, while she was a child abuser and a murderer, She binded me with black magic when I was a toddler learning to walk. This is how young I was. When I was learning to take my first steps. And Akhenaten was pushing me to walk while he knows exactly what his wife has done to me, disabling me from being able to walk and have a fully functioning body and a flowing kundalini. And this is what I've been healing in this life. The most important thing that I want to draw your attention to is when you worship Nefertiti's beauty is you glorify the abuser, you're glorifying the murderer. We have her sculpture in this museum in Berlin, of all places. That was just a false mask. What was behind that was this villain, this killer, this child abuser and murderer. Gray entity that has no inch or no cell of empathy or real love within her. There's nothing at all. It's worse than a hard rock. Just a heart of stone, these black eyes. That is just like a black hole, really. That's what it is. This is not a soulful being. This is a killing machine. This is a predator. And when we glorify their avatars, so to speak, their meat suits, because of their beauty, when we want to be like them, that's us worshiping the predator. That's us glorifying these sinister, deceptive killers that are living among us. So, looks are always deceiving, and in this case, very, very deceiving. What I want to warn against, though, is the crucifixion is a symbol of Jesus on the cross. I'm not saying the cross on its own. That's a different frequency, because every symbol, every image has a different frequency versus just seeing Isa glorified. This is why when I posted the picture of Isa that I did with AI, that's a pretty accurate depiction of how I remembered how he looked like from my memory in this incarnation of Isa. And he was wearing this beautiful woven wooden crown that he has probably crafted himself. He was a carpenter, and so he really valued all of the wooden objects that he had. And I remembered him as a child holding on to this wooden stick, and he was holding it on his right side. And that, for me, also is another clue of the connection between the reincarnation of King Tut, Tutankhamun, with his stick in his right hand, with the Isa incarnation. When he was a child, he was holding on to the stick, the walking stick, for dear life. He wouldn't let it go, and he was constantly walking around with it. Because King Tut, and I know that from this memory and this incarnation, he could not walk without his stick. It was everything. It was the thing that he counted on the most. And when I had my healing session, it's all I asked for. Like, give me my walking stick. I need my walking stick, because I could not stand even without it, and I could not even walk without it. And these are all very physical memories that are alive within my consciousness. They were before trapped in some sort of enclosure, like that keeps it away or hidden from my conscious awareness. But once I tapped into these memories and began to uncover them and release them, they were being acted out, because these are jewels of consciousness. These are pearls of consciousness that are ready to be played out and ready to be fully expressed. And that is part of the healing, is the reliving and the remembrance from this life. Alhamdulillah, I don't have a disabled body, but I do have issues in my body, and these are all the ailments. What I'm trying to say is, thankfully, I don't need a stick to walk with. And so in this healed version of Dalia, when I remember these past life, these hurtful, these tragic memories, I am connecting that consciousness of the tortured, disabled, in pain King Tut to my consciousness as Dalia. I'm able to take his hand and have him walk towards me and feel differently. And that's how we continue the weaving of the light between memories and between lifetimes. This is how we bridge the gaps with these incarnations. This is how we create different alternative memories. And so when we're able to get to the root of the matter and go back to the memory where the problem was, or where the issue was, or where the trauma was, we're able to reweave what was broken and to fill on the gaps, the missing gaps, the holes, fill them with light and with aliveness and with love. And that's self-compassion, that's forgiveness, that is healing, and that is unconditional love. And this is beautiful Christ energy of repairing and regeneration. This is a field that we all have access to, this new Christ consciousness energy. I call it KRST 2.0 because it's a whole new level of radiance and beauty and love and expansion that is just so gorgeous. And it includes all of us. It includes all the living beings. This is the beautiful frequency that we're all weaving together as a humanity. This is what's available for us, and this is what we have connection to. So I'm here to remind about these frequencies, the life-nourishing, life-giving, heart-centered soulfulness and awareness and attention and just honesty and ability to see and to perceive things and to see behind the veil, to see with depth, with true soul understanding, as ancient as your soul and your incarnations have been. This is the depth that we have access to as a humanity. So again, I want to encourage people to remember the true light of Isa's teachings and to step away from the worship of the crucifixion, because what the worship of the crucifixion is glorifying the abuser, is glorifying the abuse, the act of torture itself. So seeing Isa tortured and abused on the cross, that is not how we honor him. That is not the frequency of Isa, Jesus. That is not what his beingness is about. That is not what he wants us to worship. We're not here to worship his crucifixion. We're not here to glorify the act of abuse that was done to him. We're not here to worship the abusers by glorifying their acts. And this is the image that I see in a lot of the churches, unfortunately. And what we need to do instead is to remember his light, to remember his teachings, and to stop associating him with what was done to him. Stop associating him with torture. Stop associating his beingness with a tortured body on a cross. That is not who he was, and I hope you understand how serious this is. Be careful that you don't fall or you don't worship the false messiahs or the false icons, because the image of the tortured Jesus on the crucifixion is a false icon that praises and glorifies a satanic template that is about ritual abuse. It is about the abuse of humanity, and it is about the violence and the torture of the humanity. And you do not want to be implicated in that agenda. And this is what I'm warning about, and this is what I'm calling for, is to remove this imagery, to stop worshiping this imagery of the crucified and the tortured Isa. And what I've been shown is this is directly connected to what we can turn to as Satan or Baphomet or these devilish entities who are the creation of this gray agenda that is meant to dissuade and is meant to like delude humanity and meant to lead them in a trail of deception, unfortunately. And this is where I'm going to end. Thank you so much for listening. May the light of your soul shine brighter than the brightest sun.